If there's one thing that the Trails series is great at, it's their endings. From massive cliffhangers to epic dungeons and final bosses. Today, I'm ranking every Trails ending. But before we start, we need to set some ground rules. What actually counts as an ending? For this list, I'll be counting the entire final chapter, the dungeon, the boss, and the ending itself. And yes, full spoilers ahead. With that out the way, let's start at the beginning with Trails in the Sky FC. Triple S tier. This was the ending that sold me on the entire series. This one isn't really even about the dungeon, which was alright, or the boss fights, which were good, but it's solely based on the Joshua reveal. Have you ever heard of anyone who played FC and then didn't immediately play SC afterwards? No, I didn't think so, because it's that good of an ending. Trails in the Sky SC, triple S tier. Now SC might not have an insane cliffhanger, but what it does have is everything else. The Ark is an awesome final dungeon, and more importantly, it delivers some of the best boss fights and best moments in the entire series. Not only do you get to fight every Enforcer again, but the fight with Louvet isn't just challenging, it's iconic. And that's before you even get to Wiseman, or what this ending sets up with Kevin. It's an ending that you could argue to this day still hasn't been topped. Sky Third, A tier. Sky Third has a unique problem. The game itself is so good that the ending doesn't really stand out. Splitting the party up for a triple boss fight was cool and definitely memorable, but the final dungeon itself was just alright. Where the ending really works is in the post-boss scenes. Saying goodbye to the cast was a nice way to cap off the Sky arc. So overall, Sky the Third peaks throughout the game, which ironically makes the ending feel weaker than some of the other Trails endings. Zero, S tier. Compared to Sky the Third, Zero is remembered for a lot of different reasons. The final villain himself is honestly pretty weak, especially compared to previous games, but the lore surrounding him, Tio, the cult, and everything tied to that storyline is actually interesting. The final dungeon drags on way too long and is easily the weakest part of the ending. You've got the bonding events, defending Crossbell, and the car chase scene, and the reveals that would go on to set up Azure. Zero's ending isn't great because of its dungeon or its villain. It stands out because the story itself peaks right at the finale. Azure, A tier. Azure has a strong final chapter, but compared to Zero, it just doesn't feel as focused. The story stops feeling grounded, and the finale feels rushed rather than carefully built. Maribel is a big reason for that. As an Ouroboros member, she's easily one of the worst, and she undercuts what should have been a stronger finale. So while Azure's ending is bigger and shinier than Zero's, Zero sticks the landing better. Cold Steel, triple S tier. Cold Steel's final chapter is iconic. Similar to Sky FC, you almost never hear about someone finishing the game and not immediately booting up Cold Steel 2. It's easily the defining moment of the entire game. The Crow reveal, the assassination, and the realization that Cold Steel is actually a mecha arc. Heed my call, Valimar. And somehow, the game has the confidence to throw a battle tutorial at you during the final fight. Who does that? Super memorable, super iconic, and one of the best cliffhangers in the entire series. Cold Steel 2, S tier. Cold Steel 2 is a great ending, but for very different reasons than Cold Steel 1. There's no massive cliffhanger this time, but what it does have is an awesome final dungeon. The stakes are high, the boss rush is strong, and the music is at its absolute peak. Crow finally kicks the can, the Iron Bloods are fully revealed, and someone's still alive. It's a great Trails ending and easily the highlight of Cold Steel 2, but it's just not as iconic as its predecessor. Cold Steel 3, triple S tier. Cold Steel 3 has the biggest cliffhanger in the series. I actually can't imagine having to finish this game and then wait for Cold Steel 4. The final dungeon is perfect, with some of the best dungeon tracks in the entire series, and a strong run of boss fights, even if the very last fight itself is just alright. Then someone new kicks the can and Reen fully enters white hair mode. The world breaks, everything escalates, and the game cuts you off at the worst possible moment. It's not just a great ending, it's an all-time Trails cliffhanger. Cold Steel 4, S tier. Cold Steel 4 is the finale of the entire Cold Steel arc, and while the final dungeon and most of the boss fights are generally weaker than previous games, the actual final boss fight is a peak Trails moment. This is also the last time the Trails soundtrack really hit that series high for me. The bad ending is honestly hilarious, and the good ending had me shed a tear. It's a solid emotional conclusion even for how trope heavy and shonen-like Cold Steel can be. Cold Steel 4 might not have the strongest journey to its ending, but it absolutely knows how to end things. Reverie, A tier. Reverie has the same problem as Sky the Third. The game itself is packed with standout moments to the point where the ending almost gets overshadowed. The final dungeon is fine, and while it does give us some great memes, it's not nearly as important as other parts of the game. The boss fight itself is also good, and the actual ending has some really interesting implications for later games in the series. But that's really about it. Reverie leans so hard into post-game content that the finale doesn't really feel like an ending. It's solid, it's enjoyable, but compared to Cold Steel 4, it definitely feels like a step backwards. Daybreak. A tier. Daybreak's ending is an interesting one. The villains have easily been the weakest part of the Calvard arc so far, and that really shows in this finale. The final dungeon also comes in pretty suddenly, and it doesn't feel especially built up to. That said, the dungeon itself is still solid, and I'm always a sucker for lyric tracks playing during the final boss fights, so it earns points there. Overall, Daybreak's ending is good, but it lacks the punch and build-up needed to stand alongside the series' best. Daybreak II. B tier. Daybreak 2 really only avoids C tier for one reason. The final chapter is long and bloated and the build-up just doesn't work, and the final dungeon is literally just cubes with no textures. Easily one of the weakest dungeons in the entire series. The one thing that does save the ending is the final boss fight. When it switches into hack and slash, that was actually cool, and it feels like something Trails will probably continue doing in the future. But outside of that, the Daigo reveal didn't work for me, and the ending itself just doesn't land. So yeah, this probably should be C tier, but the final boss fight alone is enough to bump it up to a B. And finally, Horizon, triple S tier. This isn't just recency bias. Trails Beyond the Horizon genuinely delivers one of the best endings in the entire Trails series. It's the clear highlight of the game. I'd honestly argue this cliffhanger is even more brutal than Cold Steel 3. The whole space reveal, the cube, and the scale of the threat being set up for the next game, it's massive. What makes this ending so strong is how much it moves the series forward. It sets up new plot threads, connects older ones, and finally gives the Calvard arc the forward momentum it's been struggling to achieve. And similar to Cold Steel 1, the ending just casually lets you fight using mechs, except this time it's in space. It's ambitious, and it absolutely works. I cannot wait for Horizon 2. And that's my ranking. What's your favorite Trails ending, and which one do you think I got completely wrong? This is Ethanime. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.